Hi there, I'm Dr. Myrdalis Diaz-Ramirez, and this is the Design Your Physician Life podcast. Welcome to this episode brought to you by our Maxillary Mastermind, an exclusive mastermind for physician entrepreneurs. Today, we have an awesome guest, Dr. Elaine Stageberg. She's a psychiatrist, healthcare administrator, and co-creator of the Black Swan Real Estate, a company that manages, at the time of this recording, over $150 million in real estate assets. They also allow you to invest through the Real Estate Private Equity Fund. We have a great conversation with Dr. Stageberg about having no limits to create your powerful real estate portfolio. Are you ready? Let's go.
Welcome to the Design Your Physician Life podcast, where you will get excited about being a physician, learn the tools that can help boost your success, and great tips from successful doctors. Join us to unlock the keys to an amazing physician life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Myrdalis Diaz-Ramirez.
Hi, everyone. We're so excited today to present to you Dr. Elaine Stageberg. She's the owner, one of the owners and creator of Black Swan Investments. She's a psychiatrist. She's a mother of 4. And actually, she has one on her belly right now who's trying to come out any minute. So we're very excited in many ways to have her here. They actually manage over $150 million in assets, and they try to work with many physicians and non-physicians as creating passive investments. And their motto is that they're trying to make the world a better place to live. So thank you, Dr. Stageberg, for being here today. How are you?
I am doing well. As you mentioned, we have a baby coming next week. That's baby number 4. So we're excited about that, and lots of real estate opportunities in the last several years and several months, and just lots of growth, and excited to be here and share about my journey. Thank you for having me.
Well, I was truly excited about when I met you because of your story is so special. It's such a different point of view from where I come from that I really felt that we had to share your story because many people would probably be able to identify with it. Let's start when you were a girl or that teenager or that girl in college who became inspired to be a doctor, and how the circumstances were that took you to that step.
Excellent question. So I actually did not decide to go to medical school until postgraduate school. So kind of long story short, I came from a really challenging childhood. My mother was never really in the picture. My father struggled with substance abuse quite a bit. He eventually died of a narcotic overdose when I was 24. And just all of the dynamics that went along with that. I was legally emancipated when I was 16 because I had some sense that if I stayed with my dad, that it would be very challenging for me to have a healthy future. And bless his soul, he knew that too. And I think that takes a lot of courage to say as a parent, I'm so ill that I can't take care of my own child. So he was helpful and allowed the emancipation to happen. And one of the many blessings of my life is I was always very good at school. And so I was able to get a lot of validation and sense of pride and just sense of accomplishment out of school. So I finished high school. I knew that I would go to college. I went to a small liberal arts college right there in my local area. So I didn't have to move out of the area or anything like that. That was a nice stepping stone for me. And then I majored in biology, and it was a small school. There was like 8 of us that majored in biology, and 7 went on to medical school. And, to speak about the power of mindset and the power of identity, I had the belief at that time that people like me didn't go to medical school, that medical school was for children of healthy families, children of families with means, and that wasn't for me. But for some reason, I had the idea that I could go to graduate school. I guess I thought it was like an extension of college that was available to me. So I moved to Oklahoma, and I got my master's in health administration and policy. So I've always had kind of that mix of science, but then also business. And I'm glad I was able to get a formal business education. And then I had the good fortune of working for a pediatrician, Dr. Laura McGuinn. I'm sure maybe medicine is a small enough world that someone here probably knows her. And she was the first person that really explored with me this misconception I had that I wasn't cut out for medical school, or that I wasn't good enough for medical school or wealthy enough to go to medical school, and encouraged me to go to medical school. And kind of along the way, I met my husband, and we got married, and then I applied to medical school, started medical school, and then the rest is history. But I kind of came to the idea that I would become a physician a little bit later, largely because of limiting beliefs around my identity of what was possible. And Laura shattered them and said, that is possible for you. And if you want to achieve that, you can.
It's not the first time I hear this story and I still get chills. I'm so excited for you. At 16, around that time, you became emancipated. What did you do when that happened? That in that window that we just skipped over to this Dr. Laura, wonderful Laura that helped you. How did you survive at that age? What did you do?
So I'm a big believer that life happens for us, not to us. And I think I did have some sense of that even at 16. Of course, as I'm older now, I'm better able to really describe that. But at 16, I was legally emancipated a week after my 16th birthday. That day happens to be my husband's birthday. So that's a little piece of trivia that was one of the many reasons that I knew that he was my soulmate, is that he was born on kind of what I consider to be like a second birthday to me. That's really when my adult life started. And I lived in Section 8 housing. And I don't know what the policies are today, but if you have no income, you can live in Section 8 housing for $25 per month. So that was my rent through the time that I was in high school. And I eventually got a driver's license. A family friend helped me get a driver's license. And then I got a job as a telemarketer. And that was a lot of fun. That's where I guess I learned how to talk on the phone and how to interact with people. We did charitable fundraising. So that felt good to me. It was an enjoyable job that I was able to do after school. I got that job through a family friend. So again, kind of speaking to, I didn't have a lot of help, or really any help whatsoever from family, but I had a lot of friends who had healthy families, and their parents helped me with things like learning how to drive, getting my first job. And then my school was very understanding. I actually finished high school at the end of my 11th grade year, just kind of recognizing that the faster I could get into college, the more stability I would have, and things like student loans and those sorts of things. So I finished school at the end of my 11th grade year, and then I started school at that small liberal arts school. And in a lot of ways, I feel like that's where I was really raised. Professors noticed that I had a very different path than the typical student there. And many of them, took me under their wing, both in terms of what they were teaching me, but then just socially, of inviting me over to dinner, giving me gift cards for groceries, all sorts of help, and, not just financial help, but emotional help along the way. So it was a tough journey. I really felt like when I met my husband at 24, like I had already lived this whole adulthood. And, without getting too much into the weeds, his childhood was quite similar. And that was a big part of the reason why we connected so quickly, and really had some, very early indications that we would likely get married and be lifelong partners. And we were ready to enjoy each other and have each other to rely on, because we had, essentially raised ourselves as very young adults.
I just can't imagine, because my kids are going to be 16 in 2 months from the recording of this. And I have twins. I have a boy and a girl. I just can't imagine them right now going through what you're describing. So foreign to our current lives right now. And then still you did all the things that you did. You had tons of support, tons of mentoring, and friends and family and professors who really helped you, really raised you, as you say. And you still had limiting beliefs, like you couldn't be a physician, right? And then Laura came in, and then she finally saved you from that. And then here you are, a psychiatrist. But not only a psychiatrist, you're also an investor, like who has $150 million in assets right now under management, along with her husband, who had similar raising, pathways. And talking about limiting beliefs, our audience, most of them will be physicians, right? And they have already been able to accomplish this great thing, which is becoming a physician, all the things that we have to do just for that period of time, that in your case was so much more difficult. And you're not only that, now you're an investor. And we have many physicians who will say, I don't know how to invest. I cannot do this. I cannot do that. And then yet here you are with not only being a physician, but how you became one, and then how much more you are past that. So let's get into the investment part of your life, that other stage where you say, you know what? I want to look and I want to create something for me because I don't want to depend on anybody. How did that transition came out to be for you to start looking into passive investment? Where did you learn that?
So you hit the nail on the head right there, that because of the economic challenges that both my husband and I had growing up with our parents, but then also when we were very young adults and financially responsible for ourselves, it was a value of ours very early on in our marriage that we would create financial security. And at first we did that, with the very standard ways of saving a portion of our income, literally putting money into savings accounts or CDs at the banks. But we had a lot of interest in learning about financial tools. And when we would talk to each other about what we had learned were behaviors we wanted to avoid in life, because that's a really important, set of lessons to learn from other people's mistakes and say, I don't want to do that in my life. But then also learning from success stories. And early on, we discovered that we had both had these very early experiences with real estate investors. So for me, it was while I was in graduate school, I was a nanny for a family that had made their wealth through real estate investing. And I was just able to, just kind of pick up things through osmosis as I was there taking care of their kids. I would hear them talking about deals or projects they were working on. And sometimes I'd ask some questions, and they were always very kind to me and would answer as many questions as possible. And I just left with the belief that they had what I was looking for in my life. They were probably about 20 years older than me, had 3 children, a very successful business, a very happy marriage. And I left with the sense that a lot of that was because of their real estate investing. So that was my experience. And my husband, his career before real estate investing was information technology and software engineering. And he had a job at a tech startup, but then on the side, he just had this little project where he would help people with like their email passwords and their websites, like just really basic tech support. And he found a group of attorneys that he worked with to take care of their basic tech needs. And just in getting to know them, they would all tell him, we practice law because we enjoy it and we feel like we can make an impact and it's how we're professionally trained, but we've really made all of our wealth in real estate. And so as he and I are talking to each other, we said, if you see something twice in the universe, it's a pattern. And I had seen it and he had seen it in completely different avenues, but we had seen these very successful families that outwardly looked like they were, doing something in their career, but behind the scenes, they were really making their wealth from real estate. And so we decided to invest in real estate. So the first property was the home that I lived in before we were married. So again, kind of thinking about security. So I had purchased my first home to live in when I was 22 and we got married at 25. So we kept that property as a rental. And then we saved up all of our money to buy a very distressed foreclosure in Oklahoma City. We paid $35,000 for it. It was every penny we had to our name, renovated that property, did a cash out refi, got all of our money back. And that was really when we were bit by that bug, because then it, kind of our first property that I had lived in before sort of felt like—
Who told you that? Yeah, you can buy this crappy house and then make it better and refi and then make all this money. Who told you that? Where did you learn that?
So when we made the decision to invest in real estate, we went to those attorneys that my husband was still doing, the little IT support for, and said, well, who helped you? And they had a very seasoned real estate agent. He must have been probably in his 80s when he was helping us. And this was over 10 years ago. And he still practiced a little bit. And he had kind of like phased out. Those attorneys were all in their like late 60s. They had stopped acquiring at that time. They were just enjoying the wealth that they had created. But this real estate agent said, well, yeah, for you kids, I'll help you, with this deal. And he helped us find the house. It was a VA foreclosure. There were all sorts of problems with the title. He helped us with all of that process, put us in touch with all of his contractors. And we're like, oh, no, we're going to lay the tile ourselves. We're going to paint it ourselves. And he's like, you guys are crazy. You should just hire Bob, the painter. And we're like, no, we'll hire the contractor for, what we have to have permits for, like the heating and the air conditioning and the roof, but we're doing everything we can ourselves. And so I think he was very amused by us and our gumption back then. This was pre-children, so we had a little more time on our hands, but got help from, we went to the people who we saw were successful and said, how did you become successful? And they said, this was my resource. And we said, could we please have your resource? And I think that's a lesson everyone can learn from.
Imagine if you hadn't asked, right? Then you're
Exactly.
always wondering, right? So that's like the first step. Be curious and then look for more information.
Yeah.
So now let's go a little
People love
bit.
to help. People love to share their resources.
And that's amazing. That's what we found in this journey, that so many people want to help, like they're ready. You just have to ask. And yes, you might get some no's here and there. So then you just ask the next person and that's it. So that's a matter of curiosity, having the disposition, and you'll get answers, and then getting mentors who have done this before. And many times they will be, where in your case, I don't know if you had to pay for this mentorship or anything. They took you under their wing, but then sometimes you have to pay, but then it just gets you to the next level. So now a few properties later, here you are managing Black Swan Investments. Tell me about it. Tell me how that has changed the way that your relationship with medicine these days, and how people can work with you.
So along the way, we kept investing in small properties and in single family homes. We bought a few duplexes along the way, and we kept with our business plan of buying a distressed property, improving that property, renting it, doing a cash out refi, and then repeating. So that's the BRRRR method of investing, because we didn't have a high income. So we weren't able to just keep, generating new buckets of income. We had to really make the best use of the one bucket that we had where we had put all of our savings into. So we did that for probably 5 years and grew a small portfolio. And all along we self-managed. That was very important to us, that we take very good care of our assets ourselves. So we developed that management expertise, that ownership mentality. And then along the way, my husband decided to get a real estate license. And, speaking of, so I wouldn't necessarily call this like a limiting belief, but that opportunity is so infinite. So we really thought, well, I'm in residency and he has a full-time job, and it's hard for us to line up.
Wait. I'm going to interrupt you there. You were in residency, and how many properties did you already have?
At that point, we probably had maybe like 8 or 10, somewhere around there.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Keep going. I just wanted to get that out of the way.
Yep. Yeah. So it's very, very important to be clear that I was in residency during this time. And I do want to loop back to that around limiting beliefs that physicians might have about their potential to invest. So my husband got his real estate license, and we were thinking, oh, this is just so that we can get in and out of properties quickly because our schedules are so challenging. So if he has access to the properties, we'll be able to write offers and move a little more quickly. And then that opened up a whole world for us to create Black Swan Real Estate. So then people started coming to us saying, hey, I see what you're doing for your own investments. Will you help me with that? And we created that. So we created a property management company. We created a real estate sales team where we would help other investors acquire properties. And there was a lot of synergy there because we didn't have an unlimited bucket of money, and we were seeing deals like slip through our fingers because all of our money was in, these houses over here that we're renovating. But we would see deals, and then, we would say, if we can't buy a deal, the next best thing is we can help someone else buy that deal. And we had all the relationships with contractors, and we had our property management company at that time. So it just grew and grew and grew organically. And then over the last year, we started doing larger deals, joint venture deals, and the number of folks that have wanted to invest with us because of our track record and our success with investing has grown, exponentially. And so we created our fund. So now we're able to offer a passive investment opportunity to investors, and they put their money into the bucket of the fund. And then we go out and acquire and manage high quality real estate. We have a unique business plan in that we take no fees. We have no acquisition fee, no asset management fee, disposition fee, any fee you can think of. We think that really aligns our incentives with our limited partners. 100% of all profits go to our limited partners until their capital is completely returned, which is also quite different than the industry norm. And again, we think that really aligns incentives, and we're able to do that because we have financial freedom from our own portfolio that we've built over the last decade. And then it's, again, it's been a win-win that then we're able to do bigger, more interesting projects, and we're able to share wealth with passive investors. And I think more than anything, be an example of what is possible, that we have created this life-changing freedom for ourselves. And now we get the pleasure of helping so many others create that freedom. And that's really what keeps it interesting for me. Like, the real estate's very interesting, of course, but the relationships and the way we're able to change lives is really what, wakes me up in the morning.
And tell me about residency, going through residency, becoming a psychiatrist, and how that has had a relationship to your real estate side of your life, besides parenting, by the way, and being a wife and all those other hats.
Yeah. So I started investing. So our first rental property, which was the home that I lived in before we got married, that was the year before I started medical school. So our first rental property, I had even before my training started. And then we acquired our second property when I was in medical school. And then the rest we acquired while I was in residency. And I say that to just to be like completely crystal clear, I never earned an attending physician salary before I had reached financial independence. So when I hear things like, well, I'm just a psychiatrist, or I'm just a pediatrician, or I'm just family medicine, I would encourage you to maybe explore that as potentially a limiting belief. I've been vulnerable in sharing one of my limiting beliefs was like, oh, I'm not good enough to be a doctor, or not, I didn't come from the right family to go to medical school. And I'm here to be an example that, our household income combined was never more than $150,000 between my husband's income. And then for the years that I was working, my income, but many of those years I wasn't working because I was in medical school. And we were able to create this by having a very, unique business plan where we use the same bucket of capital over and over and over. So our chief metric is what is called payback period, of how can I take a bucket of money, buy an asset, improve that asset, get the bucket of money back out, still own the asset. We've never sold anything. We get the bucket of money back out through a cash out refinance. Then we have that first asset, but we take the bucket of money and go and buy the second asset, and just repeating that over and over and over. So that's been our business plan the entire, decade plus that we've been investing. And in terms of time, first, it was just a commitment, a strong why. I shared our childhood experiences. At that point, we had been married for about 5 years. We were starting to have our own children, and it was just a lot of fun to us. So for some people, real estate investing is a ton of fun. For other people, it might be, developing another side gig outside of medicine. If it is interesting to you, by all means, go out and do active real estate investing. There's, plenty of opportunities for wealth out there. For other people, they have no desire to do the actual real estate investing, and they want the financial benefits of it. And that's where people like me are, come into play of, I can be the general partner and other people are the limited partners, and we benefit from each other. That I love going out and doing real estate, and I love generating returns for others. And then, of course, we learned to delegate and to outsource, and we built a property management company and a team. And now we spend most of our time growing and leading our team, who then is running, the operations of our business. And so that's been a whole different bucket of fun that, we became very skilled real estate investors, and now we're very skilled business owners. We get the pleasure of working together all day, every day. So since October of 2020, I left medicine to run our company full-time. My husband's been running our company full-time for another couple of years before that. So it's a very different life than, I think if someone had said 10 years ago, these are all the things that would have happened, I wouldn't have believed it. But just believing that life is always happening for us, not to us. And just showing up every day and being open to the opportunities that the universe creates.
This is like the best conversation ever. We have just a couple more minutes, and you have given tons of tips to our audience. Is there something else, a message besides what you've said, exploring the nature of your limiting beliefs, what's holding you back, and that these things can be done, and asking everybody, is there anything else in terms of tips you'd like to give our physicians who are listening to this podcast today?
I would say the thing that has been most powerful for me is the power of visualization. So I think I had some sense of it as a child that, and again, I didn't know what it was. I didn't have the language or the maturity to describe it, but I would envision this future life that was very different than what I was being raised in. And some of it was that I saw examples of what was possible. So I would maybe see a healthy family when I was at a friend's house or in the community or at church or something like that. So some of it is seeing examples of what is possible, but some of it is just following one's own internal intuition about what they want for themselves. And then as I got older, and particularly over the last couple of years, as I've really been in the world of mindset, and I can't speak, highly enough of the world of mindset, I would say that at least 50% of life success, and certainly life success in the world of investing and entrepreneurship, is all about mindset. And that's where I learned to really conceptualize visualization. So when I want something, or when I'm thinking of something, I lock myself in a quiet room with just a pen and a piece of paper. I stay away from any external resources. So I don't allow myself a phone or Google or social media. I want it to all come from inside of my own mind's eye. And I write down, for me, I write. For maybe someone else, it's drawing. Everyone's going to have a different, kind of way that their brain thinks. But for me, it's writing. And I just write down in as much vivid detail as I possibly can what it is that I want. And I find that by doing that, there's kind of some combination of what I'm bringing and what the universe is bringing. And someone might call that God, or a different religion, or spirituality, or the universe, or energy, or karma. There's all sorts of names for it. It's probably all the same energy. But together, I think when we say to the universe, this is what I really want, it happens. And maybe someone's thinking, well, I'm not that woo-woo. I don't believe in any of that stuff, not even energy. Well, I think there's some, as a psychiatrist, I think there's a real neuroscience background behind it, that when we look for something, or when we think of something, if I say, look around the room for something that's blue, your brain is cued in, and you're going to find all sorts of things that are blue. And then if I say, look around the room for things that are red, you're going to tune out the blue things and look for the red things. So when you write your goals down and you start to see them in your mind's eye, your brain then goes out and looks for them. So whether it's energy and woo-woo, or hardcore neuroscience, I think there's something there for everyone. But the more time I spend on visualization, and the more time I spend writing down what I see for myself in the future, the more that stuff comes true. And even over the last couple of years, I'll joke that, like, I can't just write anything down. Like, I have to be very cautious with this superpower, because if I write it down, it's going to come true. And I don't say that from a place of ego. I think that's available to all of us as humans. And we get good at it. So maybe the first time you write something down, you think, well, this is kind of wonky, or this isn't going to come true. But I promise you, if you just keep doing it, you'll, and keep it, keep those, whether you're writing or typing or drawing, keep those things. And when you look back at them, you'll just be amazed. I can't believe that happened. I thought that would take a decade, and it took 5 years. I thought that would take a decade, and it took 1 year. I thought that would never happen. And I was crazy to ever even write it down. And then yet here it is. And then you'll hone that superpower that's available to all of us.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you very much for this. So Elaine, if people want to get a hold of you, if people want to work with Black Swan Investments, where can they go?
Yeah. So the name of our company is Black Swan Real Estate, and our website is meetblackswan.com. And that's our landing page to get connected to lots of our resources. So our investment opportunities, signing up for the wait list for future opportunities, our weekly newsletter, our Facebook group, scheduling a time on my calendar. I love to meet with people one-on-one and get to learn about your goals, answer any questions that people have. And all of that is available at meetblackswan.com.
Well, thank you very much. Have a great time having your baby. So next time it's going to be real, like the baby's going to be here. And
that's right.
We're super excited to be working with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a great day. Well, guys, that's it for today. Stay tuned for more of our Design Your Physician Life podcast, which was brought to you today by our Maxillary Mastermind, an exclusive mastermind for physician entrepreneurs. We will continue to bring you useful resources to develop your physician entrepreneur life like we did today with Dr. Stageberg. You can reach her through her website, blackswanteam.com. That is BLACKSWANTEAM.com. Thank you for joining us. We hope you had a great time as we did. Stay in touch with us. Visit our website, maxallure.com, MAXALLURE. Please don't forget to subscribe, like us, give us 5 stars, and share the love. Share with your friends and family. Thank you. See you later. Bye.
Please remember that Design is not providing specific financial, medical, or career advice. Our only intent is to stimulate your appetite for growth by sharing our experience and those of our speakers, coaches, and guests. Your personal growth and success will be unique to your circumstances and your hard work. We sincerely hope you enjoyed the show and look forward to seeing you next week.